Welcome in to the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast. Our guest tonight thinks it's going to be the least listened to and watched in the history of the show, and he doesn't know that this is episode. Well, the official episode is, I think, 684. We've done over 1,000 combined under the Walk-On brand, Patreon included. Travis Justice joins us tonight. Whether I don't know when you're listening to this, but that's our guest, and Travis is. First of all, I go on Travis's show every Friday. I take a Friday off here and there, and so I finally suckered him in. I was like, I've given enough to those guys over there. I gotta pull from Travis and get him as some content on my show. So for those of you in the Des Moines area, you guys probably know of Travis. I am excited to learn more about Travis tonight.
Are you sure about that?
I seriously, I've had Ross on the show, so I had an opportunity, and this goes way back, and we'll get to this point in the story. But I first went on Travis and Ross's show. Would have been during COVID or post COVID? Somewhere
Probably
around
right around that. Probably pretty close. You know, I think you were doing the podcast, and we were sitting there going, we haven't had Kluver on. Let's get Kluver on. So
I want to say it was 2021 ish.
Okay.
And Travis and Ross invited me on. It might have just been like hey, let's bring him on because he's got the walk-ons thing. Let's preview the season. And then it turned into, I think it was like every Tuesday I would hop on with you guys.
Yeah.
And talk about the previous game, and then we'd kind of preview. And then that went away. And then this past year we started doing it again. And then after the season, I was like, if you guys want me on every Friday, because you guys here at the Walk-On, the Walk-On fans know I love to talk. I'll chat. Hey, any more time I can get myself on camera, that's just who I am. Right?
Well, you gotta self-promote the brand. I mean, that's where Ross and I disagree on a lot of things. We don't disagree on a lot of things, but I am constantly promoting the Rush Radio Show, right? If I have a guest on and something happened from the Rush Radio Show, I'm like, that's because of us. And he's like, would you just stop it? I'm like, you got to pat yourself on the back every once in a while, man. It's okay to pat yourself on the back, because if you don't promote yourself, and we're in the self-promotion game because we're by ourselves now, nobody else is going to do it for you. So you got to promote yourself.
Yeah. And we have Drake now too. So you can say hi to Drake. Drake, you there?
Hello.
This will be interesting. This will be interesting too, because I think Travis is somewhat familiar with the Drake Kulik antics over the years. And the reputation that you carry. So this will be good. This is Travis, Drake.
Hey Travis, I'm Drake.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I heard you ask Tyler, who in the hell are we interviewing tonight? Who is this guy we're talking to?
Well, I have to ask that about most of the people that he says he is interviewing on the podcast.
Yeah. So forgot to mention, by the way, we are presented by FanDuel. Got to get that out there. I'm not as professional as Travis. I don't. Although Urology Center is supporting both of us right now, which is great.
That's right. If you need a vasectomy, it's done by specialists right here in Des Moines.
Right, every single day. The weirdest place still anyone has ever recognized me is the baby doctor's office.
Nice.
Like 8 a.m. Me and my wife go in there for an appointment. This was for baby number 2, I think. And another couple's like walking out. I got my head down. My wife's like checking in. I'm on my phone. And all I hear is, Kluv, love the show, man. I'm like, what the fuck? So weird. But it was great. It was fun. So yes, baby number 3 is coming. 4 is crazy. I know you have 4.
Well, I've talked about this on the show. The only thing my wife and I fight about anymore is that she did not get. She wanted 6 to 7.
6?
Yeah, she would.
Does your wife love being pregnant? Like, I
loves
thought that
it. Listen, my wife would be pregnant all the time. Loved being pregnant. Never had a bad pregnancy, and she loves being a mom. She's a school teacher, and so. But when our first was born, I wasn't making any money. I was making like $22,000 a year. And as a TV anchor, and I remember Abigail pops out and she goes, honey, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I go, I make $22,000 a year. How are we going to pay for all this? We sold everything, man. I mean, I sold cars. I sold everything. just to make it work, and we made it work. And
what year would that have been?
That would have been, Abigail was born in 1996. So 1996 is when Abigail was born. And then
so 30 years ago.
Yeah. So, and then Owen
So I
was
want-
born in.
And I know you know this. I know you know this, but like when you have that discussion of like, because it is great. I am on the side of the children are, you really don't know what you don't have until they come into your life, and it's like it's like everybody describes. It's a love you don't understand until you have it. It changes you. But dude, in today's economy, Trav, I'm doing this. You know what I'm doing. This is what I do for money.
But here's the deal, Tyler, is that you can make it work. I mean, sometimes you got to give up the vacations. Sometimes you got to give up the fancy cars, the fancy house. You got to have a two-bedroom home just to make it work. And we did that. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to make that lifestyle choice. We just chose to live as minimalistic as possible and not overindulge, and hopefully it works out in the end. And so you can make it work. I'm not saying, because my wife didn't work until my youngest, which is now 19 years old, got into like 4th grade. So it was that was pretty much 20 some years on one salary. It was not easy. My kids all went to Catholic school, so all my kids went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school. Now, I'm not joking here. I added it all up. At the end of it, I spent $335,000 on Catholic school.
Just on the schooling?
Are you kidding me?
No, $335,000 through 4 kids.
Imagine what that would have done in the S&P 500.
Oh, trust me. I didn't start saving for retirement until I was like 50 years old, and I'm 55, right? So I don't have much in my retirement account. But now you may not know this, but I live in Omaha. So Omaha is a predominantly Catholic town. There's 8 Catholic high schools. There's 23 Catholic grade schools. And so, and they're all full. There's not a Catholic school that's hurting in Omaha, and all the high schools are full. My son went to Creighton Prep. Two of my daughters went to Duchesne Academy, and one other daughter went to Marion High School. So you had an all-boys school and 2 all-girls schools. So they didn't even go to unisex schools. Unisex, crazy. Or whatever the word is.
You really said, wow. The story grows here, Trav. Like, this is the stuff this is why I wanted to have you on tonight. We're going to have you on again because we're already 10 minutes in. I haven't even got to well, I guess we have kind of started the story. You had, what's the age gap on your oldest to youngest?
So let's see. Don't make me do math. Let's see. We've got Abigail was born in 96. Owen was born in 99. Mary was born in 2001, and Greta was born in 2006. So the longest one, so that's the long one. We would have had more, but I was a shit husband for a little bit, got kicked out of the house for a little bit, then invited to come back in, and we had baby number 4. So it's amazing how that works.
Players fuck up.
They do. Players fuck up. Thank you so much for saying that.
Sometimes it's hey, sometimes That's
you didn't know what you're going to get in with me, did you?
No, so you've hinted at it. Every time I come on your show and I go, I got to have you on. You're like, are you sure you want the full experience? And this is what I want. And we were talking, Drake and I were in the message with the other two, and I was like, if there is ever a pod, because sometimes when I'm alone on these things, and it's happened more often than not, because Drake's running around with Kittle at WrestleMania, and he's doing something else for for his job, and Kevin's like the CEO of Stryker now, and even our intern Grant, who's a student off into real life, has his own job. And so I'm doing these more of the time, sometimes by myself, solo interviews. And tonight I was like, this is not one that I'm concerned that we're not going to be able to fill an hour.
Oh no, we'll probably go 2.
But okay. So you dropped that. We should probably hit on it. You got kicked out of the house for
being a guy. Being a guy.
Okay.
And so my wife and I have been together since we were 16 years old. We went to high
Okay.
school together.
You and I are so alike. It is wild.
Yeah. So we and then, I come from a
I
pretty
can't wait till you
dysfunctional.
get kicked out of the house, Kluman.
I don't plan on getting kicked out of the house. I don't see myself being let back in if I ever were to be. So,
I come from a pretty dysfunctional family. So my mom and dad got divorced after they were 40 years of marriage.
wow, really?
Yeah, after 40 years. My dad was an alcoholic. He was an abusive person. I didn't know this until I was like a sophomore in high school. I got home and my mom was beat up pretty bad, and I didn't know any of this stuff was going on. And I walk in and she's all bruised up. My dad had been thrown in jail, and that just started me on a spiral of just dysfunction and mental illness. I spent 2 weeks in the mental hospital when I was a junior in high school. Yeah, I'm telling you, I've been through more therapy. I've spent time in a hospital. I know what it's about, but it had a
You and I
lingering
are
effect.
more alike than you know.
Really?
Yeah, Drake has a couple funny stories with that.
Yeah. So
Played kickball with a bunch of schizophrenics.
yeah, I tell you what. Were you in a hospital, Drake?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you realize when you're in the hospital that you're not as crazy as you thought you were? Because that was I got in. I'm like, I know I've got problems, but I don't have problems.
For sure. I realized that I had more issues with coping than I did with actual like demons. These people were in some serious trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I came from a pretty upper class family. I just wasn't used to that, but after we got married, the dysfunction continued with my parents, and I made a choice when my son was born. So that was baby number 2. I took him out to see my dad, and my dad just shooed him away and said, I don't want to see him. And so I picked him up. I left the house and I said, I'm never coming back. I didn't talk to my dad for 26 years, and he passed away 2 years ago. I never talked to him once, didn't go to his funeral. Never saw him again. Never saw him again. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I had to break a cycle of dysfunction or it would have carried on with my own family. And I said, you know what? I don't want my kids to be messed up. I don't want them to live in this world. So I didn't talk. My mom passed away a year ago. I didn't see 2 of my brothers for that entire 26 years. Unfortunately, I was the executor of the will, so I had to go straighten all that up. I handed true story. I handed the last checks off last night. We're done. I go, here you go. Here are your checks. We're
literally
done.
last night as we're
Last
recording
night,
this?
huh?
Yeah. Last night, I handed off the last check of the estate, and I said, we're all done. Have a nice life. Is this deeper than you thought you were going to get with me, Clue?
No, it's honestly, this is the kind of stuff that I actually see this podcast maybe turning more into as years go on. Not like, this is maybe years down the road, but like I would love to get this deep with all the guests we have on. Usually it doesn't, we're not bringing you on because you played tight end for Iowa and then played in the NFL. So there's other stuff to talk about with you. Which is eventually, like, for those that don't know who Travis is, we are going to get to why he's relevant to as a guest on our show. But I think we've been entertained through 15 minutes regardless already. So is that tough, or is that, or do you see it as like this is the most positive route that we could have taken?
This was the most positive route for me. Now, it took a number of years to make it positive, meaning I struggled with it internally, and that affected my marriage. You got to remember, I was doing morning radio. I was on television. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. I had this self-inflated ego that, now I live in Omaha, so I was on Omaha television. I was on the #1 rated radio station in Omaha, the Todd and Tyler Show. When they do the Q ratings, which are the popularity ratings or recognizable ratings, I was #2 in Omaha, right? You had the main anchor on the NBC affiliate, and because of what I was doing so much, I had so much name recognition in Omaha that just goes to your head. I mean, everywhere you go, people know who you are. They're talking about you. You're doing shows all the time. And so I just thought I was invincible. And so when you think you're invincible, you're dealing with these demons, it goes to your head and you make really, really bad decisions. And so I made bad decisions. I paid for it. Luckily, I got a wife that loves me. And it was after that everything just completely changed. And I went, this was the right direction for me to go. I'm not saying it's the right one for everybody, But if you have serious dysfunction where the stuff just repeats in a cycle, the only way you can break the cycle is to cut it off.
Yeah.
And it sometimes, and it took me a while, but after a while, I was fine. And when I said I didn't go to my dad's funeral, let me be fully transparent about that. I didn't go to the funeral, but what I did was, because I have a little name recognition, I knew where he was at. I called the funeral home up. I said, "Hey, do you know who this is?" They said, "Yes." I said, "I need the funeral home by myself, nobody around, for an hour." I said, "I don't want anybody there. I don't want my siblings there. I just want it to myself." So my wife and I went over and we spent a half hour with my dad by the casket. And I said my goodbye. It's not that I didn't say goodbye, but I didn't want to be in a funeral situation, standing by my brothers and pretending that, all was fine with the world.
So you had your personal closure.
I had my personal closure. Yeah. So I needed to clarify that, you didn't go to the funeral. What kind of son are you? I still went over, saw the body, paid my respects, and then went along.
That stuff is, Drake and I are kind of the age where for a long time, you don't even think about, death, let alone like family stuff, let alone death. Right.
Yeah.
And then you get to like our age and now, I've got we counted last year. I think I have 5 or 6 people from high school that are passed.
Really?
For, the one from cancer, 2 from car accidents, like that kind of stuff.
What year did you graduate?
2013.
So I graduated 1989, and I still have not lost a classmate yet.
Oh, you definitely have. You just haven't heard about it.
No, we had a graduating class of 56. I didn't. I've not
Well,
lost a grade.
That's insane. That's incredible.
That is
I know.
insane.
I know.
But like, the point is we've lived enough life to where you get into like, you're starting to face some real adult problems or family dynamics that are shielded off to you on the extended family stuff for a long time. But then you start to like hear, stuff like that. And it's weird, man. Family stuff, money, inheritances, stuff like that. It makes people do weird things. Like relationships that you always thought were fine. And then you realize like, oh yeah, the aunt and uncle, they're not good with so-and-so. And you're like, wow, didn't know that. So it is funny. You have this career. So we're going to go back to like, we'll get undeep for a second.
Okay.
It'll probably come back around. 40 or so years, 35 plus years in the radio and TV industry right now?
I started in radio in 1988. I was a junior in high school. I started at KNOD in Harlan, Iowa. So I'm from Minden, Iowa. So if you think go on I-80, you can't miss Minden. There's a Casey's right there. Wasn't there when I lived there, but so I lived in Minden, Iowa. I always wanted to be a journalist, and I thought I was going to be a writer. And then I realized my grammar is really bad. So I'd actually started doing PA of like Little League baseball games when I was like 9 years old. So I was always behind a microphone. And then I got a job at KNOD in Harlan when I was a junior. By the time I was done there after my senior year, I was already doing play-by-play of Western Iowa games. I went to Grandview College, now Grandview University, to major in radio and television. I'm just giving you a quick resume.
No, yeah. This is everything I want to know.
Then I started my sophomore year at Grandview at KCCI. I was an intern for Heidi Soliday, John Walters, Jeff Johnson, and Chuck Reed. Yeah. I took that summer off because my internship is over. Dave Lubbers, who is now teaching at Drake, went to work for he had the part-time job there. He got a job with ESPN, and so I was hired in my junior year in college by KCCI. That year, they're like, "Hey, we do the Rudy Washington show. He's the former head coach at Drake. We need somebody to produce a show." So I'm a junior in college. I'm flying all over the Missouri Valley Conference. I'm hopping plane. Like, I'm in class. And they're like, "What are you doing tonight?" I go, "I'm flying to Evansville, Indiana." And people are like, "What?" I go, "I produce the Rudy Washington show." So I was doing that. And then when I graduated college, I ended up in Wausau, Wisconsin. I got fired in Wausau for getting in a fight with my boss.
Yeah.
I went fisticuffs. And But see, that was part of that anger thing I had with my pops.
How old would you have been? Like your low to mid 20s when you're in
Wisconsin?
I
was 23. I was 23 years old. I just been married. I just got married. I moved my wife up to northern Wisconsin, which is cold all
Miserable.
the time.
Yeah.
My first job paid me $12,500 a year. I was a weekend anchor at the ABC affiliate, and so I'm making $12,500, and you're working ungodly hours. My wife's selling draperies at J.C. Penney's and being a substitute teacher on the side that paid $40 a day. She's a substitute teacher now, and she makes $300 a day in the Omaha public school system. But then I got fired, and then I had to move home, and I was unemployed for about 3 months, and I got a sports director's job in Omaha, and I worked on Omaha television from 1994 until 2010.
Okay. So that was your long gig there, and then obviously back to so I got a little bit of this story. Ross pulled it out of you on your guys' show. By the way, Travis hosts The Rush with 23 minutes in. The Rush with Travis and Ross in the mornings, 2 hours every single morning.
And by the way, that's a 15-year-old show. People even know what we're doing now is new. Yeah. The show's 15 years old.
Yeah, this is the newer modern version of a longer standing show. Why are you fighting your boss in Wisconsin? What's the
we probably had both the same temperament. We both had pretty big egos. He was kind of a weird cat, and he comes in one day and he tried to pull a power play on me, like, I'm your boss, you do this, and I'm like, fuck you, man. You don't treat people like this.
Yeah.
And he starts yelling at me. I go, let's go outside, dude, right now.
Like an old school.
Yeah. And so we went outside, and we're out in WUW, the TV station's right on the main drag in Wausau.
Yeah, I love it.
And so he's about 5'5". Now I'm 5'11". He's about 5'5", 5'6". I went old school hockey. I just pulled the shirt over his head and I just start whacking him in the face, right? And all of a sudden we're on the ground, and I look up, and the general manager's pulling into the parking lot as this is happening. 5 minutes later, we're in his office, and we were both fired.
I love it.
But I got the ultimatum. They're like, we're going to fire you, but since we don't have anybody to take your place, if you guys sit here and work till we find your replacements, we'll write you letters of recommendation. And you're like, okay, sure, I'll work. So we continue to work together for another month and a half, 2 months before they found our replacements.
I kind of got
Did you get paid for it?
Oh, yeah, I got paid for it. But
I kind of got let go from my one job that I've had in a it was in a gym. It wasn't corporate, but they told me, hey, we got to let you go, man. You're going to work for the next 2 weeks though. I was like, okay, that's fine. All right.
Did you get fired for doing anything stupid, or were they cutting back?
So this was it's funny enough.
This was fresh out of college.
I mean, yeah, kind of. It was COVID. It was a month before. So it was a weird time in I look back on it very fondly because a lot of things happened at once. I was working, my big dream, or what I thought was a big dream, was, Drake and I, Kevin too, all three of us were exercise science majors in college. And I found CrossFit before college. And so I had this idea through college that I was going to graduate and own a CrossFit gym and be the head coach. And that's what I was going to do. And then as time went on, I realized and got more smart to what that actually meant and what the hours of that were going to be. And I knew that a family was eventually coming. And along with the fact that I fell into a couple things with the show. And so anyway, I was in the process of still trying to figure out that coaching career in fitness. I was basically doing burn boot camp classes is what we were doing. It was not at burn boot camp, but I worked at that gym for 5 months. And one day after my morning shift, I had done the 4 a.m., the 5 a.m., the 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 classes in a row. And then I would train after that and go home. And it's 10:15 and my boss walks over. I haven't even been there for 6 months. And he goes, hey, so gym's just not doing as good as we hoped it would be. And all the locations, there's 5 or 6 in Des Moines, are cutting back, and you're the low guy on the totem pole, and we're going to have to let you go. I was like, that's weird. Because right, like 2 weeks before that, they were talking about like opening a new gym, and I was like, I don't know. But that's the reasoning they gave me. He's like, we're still gonna let you work for the next 2 weeks. And I was like, oh well, how great of you guys, you know?
Are those gyms still open?
They're still open. They kept going. They were fine. This was February, like the middle of February. I worked 2 more weeks. I had like a 6 days off, and I had my wife's family had planned a vacation in Isla Mujeres that I was going along with. And so I was like, okay, I got 6 days of like figure something out. We're gonna go on vacation, relax for a bit, and then when we come back, we'll be fine. The day we left for Cancun was the day the world shut down. We got there, and then the world started shutting down. So we had a sick vacation. It was great. We came back to a shut down world, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? And fortunately, at that time, I think in total, this walk-on operation was making like $1,000 a month, and I was making a little bit of money from like remote coaching clients, writing them programs in nutrition. And I was like, hey, like, babe, can I try and make this work on my own? And it's 2026 and we're still doing it. So that's where we're at. But yeah, I don't know why we started on that, but because we got fired in the same way. It was like, hey, you're fired, but we need you for 2 more weeks.
Yes.
But I look back on that time now, hopefully the only time I ever get let go or fired from something, as like, wow, that was really the turning point to what my professional life currently is. And I really enjoy what I do every single day right now. So,
and that's all that matters, dude, is that if you love what you do, that's all that matters. I mean, money's great. Guess what? You're going to die and you can't take it with you. It's just a fact. And
you're going to die.
Yeah. And if you like what you do, I love what I do. And, when I got out of television, I was like, what am I going to do? And so I'm the vice president for marketing and business development for MCL Construction in Omaha. But I knew I would have that itch. 6 months after I left, and KXNO called me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing the show? Because I was doing Murph and Andy, just doing some Husker updates for them. And I went up there and they hired me in October, and 15 years later, I was still doing it. And then
that was in 2010.
That was in 2010. Yeah.
So you went 15, 16 years in TV, radio down in Omaha.
Yeah.
It was all great.
Yeah.
And why did you move on at that point, or you thought you were going to move on?
A number of things.
You did move on, but you just do both now.
Yeah. So the economy went in the tank, and so my contract was up, and they're like, hey, we don't want to get rid of you. We can't, but we're going to cut your pay by 40%. I said, well, I'll continue to work, but I'm not signing a contract, and there will be no non-compete. So if I go anywhere, and then my oldest was going into high school. And so I didn't miss a Nebraska football game from 1994 until 2010. I shouldn't say it. Home and away, I only missed 5 games total from 1994 to 2010. That's a lot of football. That's a lot of football. And then, because you were expected to travel, and then I did Creighton play-by-play after that. So I did 7 or 8 years of Creighton play-by-play. So I was on the road from basically August until...
Dude, you're never home.
I'm never home. And then I did a Sunday night show, live call-in show with Dr. Rob Zadiska. And so I worked 6 days a week. I never...
See, that's...
You see how it goes to your head, though? You see where you just...
No, I mean, like, I get it. It's fun to do. If there was like an infrastructure above me where I wasn't making and someone was providing me that opportunity, I would probably do more of this stuff as well.
Yeah.
And if it was the only thing I was doing, I have others, as people can see on the YouTube. Give us a like for the Kluver Lawn and Landscape down there. We're crushing early season right now. Business is good. We love it. If anybody needs overseeding,
I see you guys have an Ego electric lawnmower. That's what I use. I was one of the first early adopters of the Ego. I've had my Ego like 6 years now. Love it.
It's great.
Yeah,
the Ego is great. We have a bigger unit for like a rider that's, you can't. Some of these are even like a modest yard in Waukee. You push that thing, it's gonna be 3 hours. So that's not really efficient for the business. But yeah, we have
the
an
lawn
Ego.
care business really is doing good, Kluver.
Yeah, bro. Like
yeah.
I mean, It's cool, man. We're building it. We're not making 400 grand in lawn care yet, but
Here's the deal.
that's
All
a lot.
those West Des Moines moms want him to take his shirt off and mow the yard. That's what they want.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
is
The
Klug
kid's
going to
ripped.
show up and take his shirt off?
My brother's the operations guy. What it really was is my brother got laid off. He was working for NAIA, and they did layoffs. Everybody's doing layoffs, by the way. It's a cool thing to do nowadays. And he was like, "What am I going to do?" Same situation. And he was like, "We were like, what if we just start our own thing?" Because the goal, I think everybody at some point has a goal to be like,
Got a big enough advertising platform.
well, I mean, yeah, it's built in, right? And I run this business, if you want to call it that, and I know a little bit about the finances and building your own thing and all this stuff. And so, yeah, my brother, both of my brother who has a regular job, he does like finance, admin for the lawn care. I do like strategy, marketing, and my third brother, our youngest brother, is the ops guy. He's actually the one on the lawns. He doesn't have as good of a physique as me, but I'm sure the moms would like him to do it shirtless as well. So you get out of Omaha and Murph and so that's how you got pulled to Des Moines.
Yeah, well, yeah, because
were you a Nebraska fan, by the way, or have you always been?
Here's the funny thing about this, and let me say, the peak of my broadcasting career, which goes back to 1988, when I felt like because I always wanted to get back to Des Moines, even when I was a sports director in Des Moines, in Omaha, I wanted to work at KCCI. I wanted to get back. And I was a sports director in Omaha, which is a bigger market than Des Moines. And the job opened up. I applied, used everything, but they never hired me. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to reach my goals. Well, things happen for a reason. I had a pretty good career, but where I felt my career was the best, where I reached my goal, was in 2012 or 13 when Zabel passed away. God bless his soul. I was brought in to do sound off on WHO, and Ross and I got to do sound off for 10 years together on WHO, and that was the most fun I've ever had in my broadcasting career. That show is an institution. I felt like I was honored to carry the torch, but I get accused of being a Nebraska fan for a number of reasons. I worked in Omaha for so long, and then I still host a Husker podcast called Doc Talk because my former television partner and I, Dr. Rob Zadiska, who was the Big 8 Athlete of the Year, played for the Giants, played for the Jaguars. Now he's a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist. We've always had just good chemistry. And so we're like, should we just, back in when I left, I go, should we just keep this going? I mean, we were podcasting in 2010. You know how many people were podcasting in 2010? Not many of them, right?
You and Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just kept it going. And it used to be just weekly during the season. And now it's, we try to go twice a month now, and then we go weekly during the season. But people always thought I was a Husker fan. I grew up an Iowa fan. My first college football memory, I was sitting in Aspinwall, Iowa, which is right outside of Manila and Manning. My cousin was getting married, and I'm listening to Jim Zabel call the Iowa game in '81 where they beat Nebraska. I believe it was 10-7. My first memory was Iowa over Nebraska. That's now, cool. It really is. So I grew up a Hawkeye fan. I was always a Hawkeye. At the press box in Nebraska, they would call me Hawkeye Trav when I walked in. But, when you cover a team for so long, you learn to, respect them. Yeah. Listen, I got to see the 94 team. I got to see the 95 team. I got to see the 97 team. You're talking one of the best college football runs ever. In the 95 team, yeah. It might have been the best college football team of all time. That Miami team, which Nebraska lost to in 2001, pretty darn good. But, but I also got to see the bad, and I saw the critical, and people hated me during that time because I was ripping Nebraska during that time. I was calling their athletic director an asshole. I was just, because I always did opinion stuff, but I'm not a fan, but I respect them just because I was able to see it in a different way. But I was always a Hawkeye fan. But I have to convince people all the time, you're not an Iowa fan. I grew up an Iowa fan. I have 0 red in my house.
I just didn't know because I did know you were from Minden. I knew that. But again, when you're there for nearly 15, almost 20 years. Yeah. It's like, and then now you live there. You have the assumption of like, well, maybe he is a Nebraska fan.
And that's fair.
But I had a feeling you weren't because of the Hawk, like you do the black and gold rush now.
Yeah.
Which is you and Ross's adaptation
version of Sound Off. Yeah.
Of Sound Off. Is Sound Off still going or no?
I think it's a bastardized version.
Okay.
They didn't have, and shame on WHO for doing this, because what they did is I think they took the Cedar Rapids feed and just aired it on that. And, Ross and I brought a completely different, we approached it like fans, right? We weren't overly analytical. We weren't breaking down plays. We were just voicing the frustrations or the joy of fans, and we were letting people do that,
Yeah.
And I don't think you could host that show and not be a fan. People would know that it was fake if you weren't a fan of that team. You can't go, because that was a 3-hour show, sometimes 4 hours.
Yeah.
You can't do 4 hours and not be a fan, right? I mean,
those
you
were
can't.
marathons, man.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I came in and I think I did a Sound Off one time. I don't remember. But those, you're right. It is an institution, or it was. And I'm glad that you guys have adapted it. I'm going to hit some advertisements here in a second, but we're going to get into more of the COVID era. Everybody at WHO gets fired. But all the way back to the front, for those that maybe are tuning in halfway through, if you skip through, you might need a vasectomy.
Might.
If you're done growing your family and you want to make the responsible next step for you and your family, Urology Center of Iowa offers no scalpel procedures. Travis could do this ad read, by the way. Designed to be simple, safe, and convenient. Performed right here in Des Moines every single day by specialists who focus on men's health. Take control of your future with confidence. Visit uro.com and hit schedule appointment at Urology Center of Iowa. We see you. Travis doesn't have this ad. Nobody has this but us. Have you ever had Gray's Gourmet to Go?
No.
From Iowa. You probably don't make it over to Iowa City a whole lot.
No.
Oh boy. Drake could do this ad read too. So Pete and Kim are these two people that they're just legendary people. They love food, and they catered our meals in college. And they have this restaurant called Gray's. They were one of.
Hold on, you didn't have Training Table?
That's what Training Table was. They
catered.
Really?
Okay.
They catered. Well, once Shabazz Napier said that people were starving, they started catering in local restaurants and finding a whole bunch of ways for guys to get food. Well, Gray's is like, they would go over the top every single time. And they're some of the best people. They're like truly friends, partners of our show. And they've got like one of our flags that's signed by us three hanging in their restaurant. They're just insane. And the food is unbelievable. They sell these chicken lips that are like these massive, juicy chicken breasts. And they like have this spicy buffalo sauce, like chicken sauce. It's ranch, home style ranch. It's like unbelievable. And we didn't get those all the time for Training Table, but they'd give us a little healthier stuff. But they have unbelievable. I mean, the listeners of the show, they know. They do catering. They cater for like every Iowa University team. They do tacos, street tacos, sourdough pizza. If you guys are in Iowa City and you haven't stopped by Gray's Gourmet to Go, you're messing up. I have people every single week hit me up. Hey, because of you, we tried Gray's. We'll be going back next time we're there. So it is what it is. Legends, Gray's. Probably should mention FanDuel. They like when we do that. Have you seen Iowa's win total, Travis? I'm sure you guys have talked about it at some point.
No, I haven't seen it. Is it? Well, let me guess.
Take a wild guess.
For next season. 7.5.
Every single year. 7.5. Drake, is that just pure disrespect? They haven't won less than 8 games since our 2014 season.
Yeah, I don't really know how those prediction software guy is much smarter.
Drake's cutting like he's in the canyon. I don't understand how they work either. I guess the quarterback, which we got, actually, I might have to do like.
Do we have one?
What? Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and make the prediction that we do or not, but
Lester said they were both even. They're like neck and neck. I saw that today.
That's a bad sign.
Well,
you might be right.
There is an old adage that if you have 2 kickers, you don't have a kicker in special teams. I don't know if that plays for quarterback, but it is sort of the situation.
Plays for quarterback.
Well, I don't know. They're saying some stuff about him that I haven't heard them say before.
Because
And
if you
usually
have a top 20 quarterback,
we don't have a
there's
top. We don't have a top 20 quarterback. I mean, but I think they're confident that this next guy can get the job done and do good things. And they've built an offense around him that's like really pretty sturdy. And if this Tony Diaz guy stays healthy and is making plays during the season, I think 7.5 on FanDuel, absolute lock for everybody listening. Not betting advice, but absolute lock. Check out
quarterback's
FanDuel.
pretty important, man.
It is. It is. So we get to 2020. You've been doing sound off for was that your only responsibility?
What do you mean?
What did your whole job entail for the Des Moines station?
So I would do the morning rush, which
the morning rush with
so the morning rush started with started as TNT in the morning. Tim Fisher and I started. He did that like a year and a half with me. Then Ross came in 2011, 2012, 2012 or 13. Zabel had passed away. They asked me to do sound off. I said, "Oh, if we can do it with Ross," then we did it. So, and I would actually drive to Des Moines. I love that show so much. I would drive to Des Moines every Saturday to do that show because I've always done the show out of Omaha. Because when they offered the gig, I said, "Hey, I got a full-time job and this is what it's going to take." And they're like, "We can't pay you that." I said, "Well, then let me do it in Omaha and pay me a part-time wage. I'm only going to do it because I really like it." So I started doing it at a radio station here. Then we figured out how we could do it out of my house. So I would do the morning show out of the house, but every Saturday I would drive to Des Moines because I wanted to be there. I wanted to watch the game. I wanted to be with Ross. And we just had so much fun doing that. And we watched so many games together. It was fun. So yeah, I mean, so you're doing the morning show and you're doing sound off on Saturdays.
And that goes all the way until 2020. And then that's where
no, because I mean, went to because they fired us in 2020, but that only lasted like 48 hours, right? So
and then they brought you back.
They brought us back 48 hours later because Murph and Andy, thank God, went on and basically they did a boycott. They weren't going to go on the air until something happened, and you had a lot of advertisers got really pissed because if you're gonna lay people off, you got to do it. You got to do it incrementally. You don't do it all in one swoop. The only people that get laid off were Murph and Andy because, well, they're Murph and Andy, and they shouldn't have been laid off. But everybody else did. And I felt bad because everybody else was like floored. That was their job. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go to work. They literally called me and said, "Hey, you're done." I'm like, okay, thanks for everything. I appreciate it, right? And because I had a job. I did it. I don't want to say it was a hobby, but it was I had another means to.
You were doing
the
construction gig at the.
Yeah, and I still do, right? And so, but when they laid off Ross in 2024 is when I'm like, huh. And then they laid off Justin, my producer, a week and a half later, and they didn't tell me, and that's what I was upset about. They didn't tell me they were going to lay off Ross. They didn't tell me they were going to lay off Justin, and my whole thing would have been, don't lay those two off. Why would you lay somebody off who works in Des Moines, is from Des Moines, is physically in Des Moines, and you keep the guy from Omaha? That makes zero sense to me, right? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. And so when they laid Justin off, I called Ross. I said, "Do you think we can do this on our own?" And he's like, "I think so." I said, "Well, I've got a plan." I go, I own a couple IP addresses. I've been studying internet radio. And so I said, "Give me somebody I can talk to." I did a presentation to Choice Creative, and they liked the idea. We cut a deal, and we launched it and we didn't miss a day. I resigned on a Friday on the air. I felt bad because Sean Roberts, who was doing the show with me, and is a good friend of mine, but I didn't tell him what was going to happen because if I would have told him what was going to happen, I wouldn't have been able to say goodbye to people I've been talking to for 15 years. It would have gotten out. So I dropped it on him. The last segment, say, "Hey, Sean, this is my last show today. Sorry, buddy. Thanks for everything."
On air, huh?
On air, yeah. Listen, they didn't tell me Ross is going to get fired. They didn't let Ross say goodbye. They didn't let Justin say goodbye. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to do that to, because eventually they would have done that to me. I got to go out on my own terms. And then Ross and I on that Monday started a show, and we've been going for a year and 3 months now.
And Ross had been doing Sports Fanatics with Chris, and Chris left.
Oh, so you don't know the story of that then, do you? What happened? So Ross and I were doing the morning rush together. And then they broke us up because they panicked because Miller and who's the jailbird were going to another radio station, Marty Terrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, oh my God, we got to counteract this. So Ross and I are rolling. They pair me with Heather Burnside. They pair Ross with Chris Williams. It worked out for both of us.
They were good shows.
Yeah, they were good shows, but they just ripped us apart after like 4 years. We're like, well, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then when it all came, when Chris had left, they asked me, what do I want? I said, I want to work with Ross again.
Yeah,
Nothing
you brought
against
Ross
Heather.
back to the mornings,
I go,
right?
I want to work with Ross again. And that's what happened.
Okay. Yeah, that was I think you guys caused everybody was having heart palpitations in the Des Moines area that relied on the Des Moines sports shows, because it was like, man, the gang gets split up, they're back together, now it's a new show. This guy's in the morning now. It's hard to follow.
Yeah, I know. It's like a soap opera. I mean, the inner workings of broadcasting are weird, and that's what I love about what we do now. I don't have to follow FCC rules. We can have advertisers can do whatever they want. You know, I mean, they don't have to follow. Well, you can't do this with an ad. If you want to do something with your ad, do it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it.
I when I saw you guys going off on your own, and same thing with Chris and all of them, I was like, this is, I mean, obviously we started this in 2018. So to see more shows doing it on their own, I was like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. And it's like, there really is no downside to it other than, I mean, once you figure out all the parts of it, there is no downside other than to the networks who lost the listenership. But like, hey, that's on them. Like,
I think the downside is trying to convince an advertiser that what we're doing is the exact same thing we were doing.
Yeah.
And we probably have more listeners than we did before. And unlike radio, that can give you a diary ratings, I can give you analytics every single day of where people are watching, how long they're watching, how long they're listening. And we're not just YouTube, right? We have our own app. We're on the TuneIn app. So we have an audio stream. We have a video stream. We have a number of different ways. And I get analytics. If an advertiser wants, I can go, hey, this is how many people listen today. And can radio give you that? Because I don't think they can.
Down to like, hey, here's how many people listened in Omaha or
Yes.
like in Des Moines. Like it is cool. I think the analytics and like the data behind it is far ahead of like where radio is.
100%.
And I never really did. I've done a little bit of radio. I did a post game show, but like I've never been in the thick of it where I'm the one producing the show. I'm glad, because it seems like you're doing a lot for a little in radio, and no one wants to do a lot for a little, to be honest. And so now you've got the run, and you guys are on it. Again, this is what we talked about before we hit record, is like, it blows my mind that you guys talk for 2 hours. And I know you've done it for a long time, but doing this show, and we sit down and talk for an hour, maybe an hour and a half sometimes with most of our guests. We do it 2 times a week. I do 2 other podcasts a week total. Like I'm doing like 4 to 5 to 6 hours of talking on the microphone live, or like what's recorded content. And you guys are hitting 10 hours a week. It's insane. And then in season, you added the Black and Gold Rush.
Yeah.
And so that's another 2-ish hours. I mean, I did it twice with you guys last season, 2 hours. It's a lot, man. I don't know how you guys, there's got to be days where you wake up and you're like, all right, well, we're going to talk about this morning you had on
Did you like that?
Like a world champion axe thrower.
Was that not cool? That ended up being a much better interview than I ever thought, man.
That guy popped. I'll be honest. That guy popped up on the screen, and I was like, "Oh shit, here we go."
He was great.
He was good.
Here's the deal. I can do 2 hours of my sleep, and Ross and I have really good chemistry, and we like what we do.
Chemistry.
We have insane chemistry. I will say this, and this is going to, you're going to have a lot of purists that listen to the show. We are not an X's and O's show. And I will say this.
We aren't either.
Radio to me, you have to be 90% entertaining and 10% knowledgeable. As long as you can entertain the masses and then give a little bit that you know a little bit what you're talking about, that's all that matters. And they're going to be saying, oh, you need break down. I can't break down a nickel defense if I tried. Okay. I just want to be entertaining. I want to speak like a fan. I want to have conversations like a fan and also have different conversations. You know, I think, what did we talk about to start with this morning? I think we did. Oh, we talked about VCR. Oh, my wife's doing spring cleaning. I've got 400 DVDs upstairs she's getting rid of. Think about how much money that is, and they're like worthless now. So then we went down the road of, you know, remember using a VCR? Then you had the VCR reminder.
Yeah,
it's not all sports.
Yeah.
But we weren't like that on KXNO either. It was just like, let's just have normal. I want to act like you're sitting in a bar, having a conversation with your buddy, and just talk about random shit. And then you bring up the Mets, who've lost.
That's why I'm a good guest, because that is
you're great.
Well, it's because it's the basis of our show too. It's like we know enough. We were there. We have the life experience. But like during the season, when we do our preview shows, like the second show of the week on Thursdays, we don't break down shit. We hardly talk about matchups. We'll throw in like, yeah, this guy's really good on the other team. They're going to have to figure it out, you know? But like, I think it's almost this weird spot that we come from. Our perspective is like, because we were on the inside, we know, and I know that some people would love to listen to that, but we know that they're going to figure it out, and that's all we really care about. Phil Parker is going to have it figured out, you know? I don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to do it. And I'm not going to try and sit here and tell you, oh, here's probably going to blitz off the edge when they're showing this form. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. And so we like to have fun too. And
well, I think and tell me if I'm wrong, because I got a lot of former players that are friends of mine. It's not as sexy on the inside as you think. It's pretty normal stuff, right? I mean, sure, there's X's and O's, but it's not like life's that much different. Do you think it is? Well, I mean, I think they expect some kind of
like they're feeding you grapes and like, you know.
No, I like you have this inside knowledge of it's just going to play the game, guys. I mean, at the end of the
yeah, it's there's nothing. To be honest, most of it would be very non-appealing to most people,
and that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like it's not as appealing as you think. It's hard work.
Like it's. I mean, Drake and we've talked about this all the time. I think we had a conversation about a month ago. We were trying to figure out if you were going to pluck one day off the calendar year of an Iowa football player, what would be the best day or 24-hour period to give a person off the street the experience of being an Iowa football player, right? And we were debating on if it would be an in-season day or a game day or a summer training day or a spring ball day. And I think summer came up, and Drake was like, dude, your average person would die if they tried to do the workout that we did on any given summer workout day. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And like, just thinking about that, maybe for one day or like 30 minutes, people would think it was very cool. And then they would get over the fact that like there's black and gold on the walls, and they'd realize like, oh shit, this sucks. This isn't fun. We have a lot of teammates that due to attrition or left, attrition hits every program. We came in with 37 guys, left with 14. There's a reason that a lot of people don't make it. It's because that shit sucks. A lot of it sucks.
A lot of people, because, you know, the regular season and fall camp gets a lot of play. The spring ball, unfortunately, gets a lot of play. Would you guys both agree, though, that the most important is summer?
There's parts to that.
Spring From a camaraderie.
Summer is huge for what I would call like team building.
Yes.
Yeah. It is the peak of like, it is summer camp, basically. It's summer camp. You're going to, and you're the off-season competition that we would do where you earn points for your mini teams. You're split up into like 8 teams within the team. You're trying to beat the other teams. You're playing tug of war. You're doing other games. You're fighting for points on the sled sprints that you're doing and the max lifts that you're doing and the conditioning sessions. And the new guys come in. A lot of those new guys come in. The freshmen in the summer, the transfers. Now that schedule has moved up a little bit further towards spring.
But what that does too for the older guys is that it's a chance to lead those guys and set the example of what needs to happen moving forward. And that's, I've always been told that summer, you can kind of tell when it's going to be great or when it's not going to be so great the way summer goes. I don't know if that's the way you guys saw it.
I think I've heard Coach say that before. Yeah. I don't know if Drake has feelings about that, but
I don't think you could really.
all this guy does is cut out. He's in the mountains. Spring ball is really important for X's and O's for young guys. Like the period, because so as we record this, it's Wednesday of the last week of spring ball. I'm not sure what days they do spring ball on in the week anymore, but they do Saturday for 5 weeks, and Saturday is a spring game. And for the last 15 practices, those 2 deeps that were second string in the fall, or maybe some of the young guys, definitely the transfers who are expected to play a big role this upcoming season, huge 5 weeks as far as the playbook goes. But the summer is where you earn a lot of that like program credit with your boys. Like, oh, they're grinding through the shit. Like it's also a time that's very it's football focused. Most guys aren't in summer classes. If there are, it's very few. It's just pure football. You're there it's the closest thing to being a pro athlete as you get.
You earn trust and you earn respect if somebody doesn't have it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important. I mean, and it's also closer to the next season.
Yeah.
Other than fall camp, that's like your next closest period. And so like time starts to tick down a little bit. Yeah, you gotta, by the end of summer, physically, you have to be in a certain spot. Otherwise, individually and from a team standpoint, things are gonna go downhill pretty fast. And so, yeah, I think especially now after nearly 30 years, I think KF has a pretty good idea in summer what they're working with. Camp certainly starts to put together the picture more clear, but summer is very important. And yeah, like again, going back to the original point, just like the college experience is fun, but that's fun for a normal student too. It's great. Like you can go out, drink, party, whatever, girls, dorm room, all that stuff is still there if you're just a college student. Yeah, getting up at 5:15 and walking from the dorm room in like -3-degree weather to go get yelled at by a strength staff and like lift 85% weights. It's not for everybody. And you see that from year 1 to year 5.
Dude, I didn't think it was so hard back then, but now when we look at it in retrospect, what we did was so hard.
So hard.
Like it was hard to do it, but we were just used to it and we just did it. And it was just one day to the next. But looking back on it, it was ridiculous.
Two things bring you through that. Like it is weird because I think the same thing, Drake. And I think back to, we have all these guys on who a lot of the time the story comes up where it's like, man, there was this moment where I was calling home. I was on the phone with my mom or dad and I was going to quit. Like I was going to quit. I never had that. And I think part of it was because I was gifted a starting spot, essentially. I eventually did earn that and was deserving of it. But Casey Kreider had 4 months left in the program when I stepped into Iowa City. And I basically knew, like, I just got to wait this guy out. And then I'm a really good long snapper. I could pretty much do whatever. And unless I kill someone, they're not going to kick me off the team. I'm the only other long snapper on the roster. And so that next spring, I'm the starter. I'm the guy. And so in my mind, I'm a Hawkeye fan my whole life. It's like, I don't think there's anything on earth that I couldn't get through to make sure that I could keep being a starting Hawkeye football player for the next 4 years. So that was always like my North Star. It was like, yeah, this sucks, but like, it's pretty cool during the season. Like
So
There were a
I
couple
got a question.
concussions that made me think otherwise.
Were kickers expected to go through the same thing as everybody else?
Training wise?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Physically. I mean, yes. Yes. And that's not the case everywhere. We used to talk with, the specialist community is a weird, you go to these kicking camps, you learn the names and meet these other guys, you make friends and maybe even train with them in the summer occasionally. And I remember one time the Minnesota specialists, we got word that like the Minnesota specialists didn't even have to like go to the whole practice during like in season. They would come for like their period and then they would go work in the indoor and then they would just leave. Like when the team would call it up at the end of the day, they weren't even there. Like and I've heard that multiple times where like special
That's why those bums win 5 games a year.
True. And I've heard that all over the place, especially in the strength conditioning program off season, which there are some things I would like to change from a specialist perspective, but they wouldn't have to like push the sleds, do the hard conditioning. And like, so that was a bit of a badge of honor for us at Iowa, where it was like, you walk out there, specialists are getting pounded into the earth. They're going through it.
But good.
But you earn the respect.
Yes.
Because by the time, in the first couple of years, I was not there, but going into that 2015 season, it was and then from there on out, I knew that as much shit as the specialists get, at the end of the summer, when I'm lining up against some of the linebackers or some of those other skill players, and I'm right there with them on the running reps, some of the running reps. That when they see me in the hallway or by the meeting rooms or at the training table, they're like, well, gotta hand it to him. He might be a fat long snapper, but he's doing all the same shit we're doing. He's earned it, right? And that was awesome. That was and even more so on a nerdy side of me, because training and exercise science and all that was kind of my jam. But yeah, most people it sucked. It sucked. And it really gives you, it's like people ask like, what did you take from Iowa? What did you how does being a Division I athlete, how does that translate to life today? It's like a lot of people struggle to work out. Just like or struggle to do hard things in general. They're not coachable. It might not even be related to physical exertion. It might be they're at a job and their boss is like, this fucking guy can never take constructive criticism. And that's why people love athletes as employees, is because they know how to be coached. They want to be better. They're competitive. And like all of that stuff shines through. Like I'll catch shit for this. Like parenting, it's not hard. It's annoying. There's annoying parts to it. When my daughter eats dinner and then I'm like, we're getting her ready for bed and she's like, Dad, I'm hungry. And I have to make another sandwich for her. Or like she came home from school today and she wasn't listening to mom in the car. So she didn't get a package of fruit snacks and now she's bawling her eyes out. And it's like, boy, it'd be easy to just stuff this toddler with fruit snacks and shut them up. Or it's not hard. Like the stuff that you go through in college really prepares you for like dealing with obstacles. College football, at least.
It's funny, and I'm in no way in any shape or form equating myself to a Division I athlete, but I
don't know. You're pretty close.
I think being around as many teams as I've been around, you learn a lot from that, right? I mean, I've seen really good coaches. I've seen really bad coaches. I've seen tremendous athletes. And when you covered that much, you kind of get that feeling, not that you're participating, but you understand the makeup of greatness and what's not great, right? I mean, you understand what culture's about. You understand what teamwork's about, just everything. And I think that helped me, because I was supposed to play baseball at Grandview. Then I realized I don't want to play college sports. I was like, I played baseball from like 5 to 18. And then you get there and you're like, why do I want to do this anymore? I'm done.
Yeah.
I finished college in 3.5 years, but I stayed in the sports world, and that's where I wanted to stay. But I think I learned a lot from coaches and players just by covering them over those years and getting to know them.
Why? So you truly love being on a mic, clearly.
I love being on a mic. I mean, I MC 25 events a year. I've got another event on Saturday.
And I heard you say that on a show. This is like a third gig. I don't know how many gigs you have technically or what you would consider, but you do a bunch of like events, like live events, like auctions or charities or
Yeah. So I actually auctioneer probably 3 or 4 events a year. I'm not a professional auctioneer. I just have a different way of doing it. But I MC probably 25 events a year. And then I'm actually going to be at Des Moines Golf and Country Club on May 22nd for a swarm event. So,
and how did that all come about? It started with one, and then you're like, but do you advertise that as something you do? Or
it started when I was on television, and a lot of these organizations want somebody that goes on TV, and I've never charged for my services. So I
don't make money doing any of these.
Well, hold on, not in Omaha. I'm charging the swarm when I go up, but but here's the deal, Kluve. In the 1099 world, I need tax write-offs. So I say I'm not charging you, but I need a letter saying I donated this amount of services for my MC. I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm helping to get. They have no problem writing me a letter, and I provided services. I don't need the money because I don't want to pay taxes on it. I'd rather take the tax write-off.
But I mean, you still you'd still come out with more money.
Yeah, but I'm not
good.
You understand? I'm not good at tucking it away and saving it. So this year, I'm finally going to start paying in estimates. I'm like, after the check I just wrote to the government, I'm like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah,
let's get on an estimate payment.
I've been there before. Yeah,
yeah.
That's there is some benefit to the W-2.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I like emceeing events. The funny thing is I'm actually kind of an introvert until you give me a microphone, and then I'm an extrovert. I don't really like being around people that much. My circle of friends is very, very slim. I mean, we're talking 3 people that I probably hang out with on a normal basis. Otherwise, just my wife and I like to stay in bed. I don't like to leave the house.
This is where we're all the same. This is where, or me and you, this is where we connect a lot. I have Drake and Kevin are my friends, but I don't ever hang out with them.
It's kind of like Ross is my friend, but I don't hang out with him.
I know. And Ross is,
Ross is everybody's friend. Everybody's friend.
That's what, like, the contrast between you guys is so great, and the roles that you have on your show is really fun because Ross can he's so good at finding the other perspective no matter where you are at, or at least like playing devil's advocate if he has to. And the other thing that he's so good at is it doesn't matter what you're talking about. And I can't do this because I can't fake it. I just don't give a shit enough. It does not matter what you're talking about. Ross will make it seem like this is the most important thing that he's ever talked about in his life. The passion and like enthusiasm that he brings to a conversation about whatever. You're like, why is he excited? Like he's really digging into this conversation right here. It's amazing, and it makes for a great show. I can see why he's been successful. You guys have been successful because I'm like, every once in a while, I'm like, where does this whole thing go? Like another thing you mentioned before we hit record was like, it's hard to do this. Like, it's hard to keep this going. You're just out there hoping companies will sponsor the show and see you as a valuable platform. And it's just a constant thing. And Ross is like, you and Ross, like, you continue to do it. I wonder if you have those same thoughts of like, how long am I going to do this? How much do I care about the rush? How old are you?
I'm 50. I'll be 56 this year. And so
how do you consider from the macro what you do with radio or the rush, the show?
What do you mean explain that better to me?
Is there a retirement at some point, or is it just until you no longer enjoy it? Because it's a commitment. I mean, you're putting together You're
I
about
would
to
s-
wake up. You're doing this for us. Thank you, by the way. And you're going to wake up at what, 4 in the morning?
4, but I see myself doing this at least on the air in some capacity until I'm 65 to 70. Listen. I'm going to be 56. I still have a sophomoric brain of a 16-year-old. I mean, I make dick jokes all the time. I'm politically incorrect.
Love
I
that.
think like that, and I feel young. This keeps me young. And the truth is, you listen enough, it's my therapy. So after I stopped going to therapy, I'd be said, screw it. I'm going to tell the world exactly what my life is about. And I found that there's more people that can connect with you on that level, and that creates a connection like, oh, he's just as fucked up as I am. Okay. Then I can relate to that. So if I
Yeah.
tell a story sometimes on the air, I'll get emails going, dude, I'm going through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So as long as as long as I'm having fun, as long as can make a little bit of money doing it, I see myself doing it as long as Ross wants to do it. And if that doesn't happen, I still have my Doc Talk podcast. I still have a Tuscany podcast. Hell, I can do an old man podcast.
Tuscany podcast. Tell me about that. I didn't know about that.
So I have a little obsession of traveling to Italy. So
I do know that.
Yeah. So back in 2009, I went to Italy for the first time. I've been back 16, 17 times since. But it was 2011 I started the Total Tuscany podcast. There's only like 100 so episodes. We don't do them as often as we should. But I've created connections with people over there. I'll help them promote their business. I don't ask for anything, except when I go over there, they take care of me. You know what I'm saying? So, come on in and have dinner. Come on and do this excursion. And then I'm able to talk about it and do that stuff like that. So it's a little, but if you ever want to go to Italy, all you have to do is, and go to Tuscany specifically, just search the Total Tuscany podcast. There's over 100 episodes there of covering about everything you can imagine to do in Tuscany.
I would love to go at some point. My wife and I, again, this stage of our life, not exactly the best time to just head off to Italy.
We
But
took our kids in 2009 from a 2-year-old all the way up to an 11-year-old. We just took our 4-month-old grandbaby to Italy in December.
That sounds like suicide.
yeah,
It was awesome. It was freaking awesome.
traveling with kids is tough.
Only if you like it. Only if you tell yourself it's tough.
No, it's tough. And our kids are about as good as we went to Florida for spring break, and it was about as good as it could be, and it was still like stressful. We definitely do want to go to Italy at some point. Did you maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but at some point and I'm just digging in because it's my thing. You lost a lot of weight.
I'm down. I've put a little bit back on. I lost 75 pounds. I've put about 15 back. So I got down to about 179. I was at 258. I got down to 179. I'm at 195 now. I feel pretty good. I've stayed at that 195 for like 2 months. I can't lose any. I'm not gaining any, and I feel pretty good just to maintain. I'd like to get back down to about 180 if I could.
And this was this before everyone was jabbing themselves with Ozempic? You did
No,
it,
I've never done the Ozempic. What happened is towards the end of my time at KXNO, I had this weight loss company out of North Carolina. I wanted to know if I would, be a spokesperson for them. And so they gave me, I would do like these weekly counseling sessions. They'd send me these prepackaged meals. Basically, it was, low carb, not going over 2,000 calories a day, right? And I maintained that for a good year. And then, I've upped my carb intake, probably up my calorie intake. But as long as I see if I walk, 3-4 times a week, maybe a couple 3 miles, that helps me maintain and go. But yeah, the weight loss, and I didn't work out once. I mean, the biggest, I don't like to work out. I don't like to lift weights.
To me, actually.
Yeah, walking is about the only thing that I've done. So I need to lose. I'd like to get back down to 180 if I could, but 195. Hell, I was at 250 for 8-9 years, maintaining 250.
Trips to Italy probably not good on the carb intake.
No, it doesn't matter because you're walking on an average of 25 to 30,000 steps a day when you're there.
That Jesus, what are you doing?
You're just walking around. you're walking around Florence. You get on the train. You go to a hill town. You're going up, down. It's just nonstop. There are no fat Italians. That's the bad thing about like Goodfellas and all
that
this
can't
stuff.
be
They
true.
also have
Dude.
better food over there.
Dude,
That's true. But
yeah, it's better food. There are no fat Italians. They may be fat here because you see Goodfellas and all this stuff. Go to Italy. You won't see a fat Italian. They're all skinny because they all walk everywhere.
they're that is true. They're the way they live life is a little bit better over there.
Yeah. They take a siesta every day. Like, oh, sorry, we're closed for the next 2 hours. I gotta go take a nap.
Do they really? Is that real?
Absolutely. Yeah, about 1 o'clock. They do the lunch, closed, back at 3.
It's incredible. That's amazing.
Are you ready? Never go to Italy in August. Ever.
August is a bad month.
No, because the country shuts down. It's the holiday season. They all go on vacation in August.
For the entire month?
For the entire month. They all go on vacation. They'll go in August. There wasn't much to do. Everybody's closed up. They're all on vacation.
Drake, weren't you supposed to go to Italy for George's wedding and then COVID hit?
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's
Bad beat.
okay for me, man. I don't like.
I know you don't like traveling, but tough for it's tough. Yeah, lose out on a trip to Italy. Well, I think we could talk for another
Did
hour.
I give you what you want?
This is
going to be your least listened to episode in the history of the Washed Up Walker.
That's no. I could I could just pull so many episodes where it was like I just had to like talk for 40 minutes about, I don't know, make something up. We didn't have a guest. I could go just back through. I've got all of our episodes pulled up on YouTube right here. We've got episodes that no one watched, basically. So this was good for me. This is exactly what I wanted.
Do you feel like you know me a little bit better, even though you've been coming on every Friday?
Yeah, because I don't want to get sometimes we do get into these conversations on your show, and I feel like I'm hijacking like this needs to be about sports, and they're having me on to talk about something about relevant about Iowa or what's going on with football or something that's happening with sports. And then we're talking about like CrossFit, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, the people that listen to this show are like, we don't. Friday, last half hour of Friday shows, we're tuning out because this guy is
can't have nobody tunes out.
I'm
very Cooper talks a lot.
Yeah. You should listen to the show on Fridays, Drake. This Friday.
You can listen to the show every day, Drake, if you want. You'd be like, oh, okay, this show's okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can find it at therushradio.com.
TuneIn app.
Good plug.
TuneIn app. We have our own Android app. I mean, getting an app on Apple is a freaking joke. Google, Android, get an app out there is fine. Apple's got like this police, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And finally, we found the back door with the TuneIn app, and we're like, okay, but that cost me a lot of money to put it on TuneIn, but it's worth it because people can find it on their Apple phones. But yeah, and just to let everybody know, the audio quality on the app is much better than YouTube. But I know why
is it
people
really
like to watch. Oh yeah, try it tomorrow. Just go on the TuneIn app and just see if you notice the difference.
Oh,
because
okay.
I run it through a compressor. I can't run it through the compressor on StreamYard, but I can run it through a normal compressor for the TuneIn app, and it sounds just a lot better.
Oh, well, learn something every day. This is exactly what I wanted. I think people will have found this episode quite entertaining. I'll cut it off there. Travis has to wake up and do it 2 hours in the morning. Who knows what are you talking about tomorrow?
Well, we got the draft tomorrow.
Oh yeah, the draft week.
Yeah. Draft. We got Brian Duax from Central City on tomorrow, so we got our big special that we give away. Yeah.
You know who's great? Like unintentionally great, and other people might not agree with me. Is his name Chris Conley?
Yeah, from the Iowa Event Center.
Something about him and the way he talks about all the stuff that is very similar to Ross. It's like, man, this guy just everything that he talks about is the most important thing that he's ever talked about. He just has like passion with all the stuff that they do and the cadence and the tone of which he speaks. Something about him. I like when he comes on.
You should have him on. He's a good dude. I don't know if you're fans would like that or not, but
I'm gonna have
he's a good dude.
anybody who we can get to come on the show as a guest, I'll take. It's better than me. Most of the time, it's better than like me and Kevin coming on here and talking about like, what we'd end up on the war in Iran or something. It'd be like, Jesus, we don't want to hear this.
Well, if you ever have a time when Drake and Kevin can't make it and you need somebody, you just call me. I'll hop on with you anytime.
All right. Appreciate that. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode with Travis. Go watch the Rush on Fridays with me
at 7:30.
They have a lot of other great guests too. Again, 2 hours every day. And the Black and Gold Rush. I'll be promoting that more.
Because you're going to be on it this year.
Yeah.
Though it was always like, hey, can't make it this week. Can't make it this week. Which is fine because we didn't pay you. So it's like we couldn't beggars.
Well, there will be one time for sure, probably the game that I go to. It'll be tough I'll try and call in on the ride home, but otherwise I should be good. I will say, not great timing because that's when babies do. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. I might just go dark this fall. There might be no walk-ons. I won't because I need money. But anyway,
it works out.
Travis Justice, everybody. Thanks for coming on. Everybody, we'll be back. Hopefully, I have a guest lined up for Sunday. It'll be out on next Monday, and then we will probably recap all the draft, where all the Hawks went next Thursday, when everybody's kind of through the weekend and everything is settled. We will be back then. Peace.